I got to kick this thing off. Can I kick it off? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ladies and gentlemen, listen.
Conversate with Us Radio presents the manlistenshow. We are the blackest radio show on the internet. We bring you our opinion on topics that affect the Black community in an effort to enlighten, enrich, and empower every brother and sister that falls under the sound of our voice. We operate on a no-hating frequency, so be prepared for us to keep it 100% real and 100% Black all the time. Please follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at manlistenshow. You can subscribe to the show on YouTube, leave a comment, give us a thumbs up. You can also follow us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you can listen to a podcast. Make sure you share the show and make sure you let everybody know about the blackest radio show on the internet, the Man Listen Show. I'm your host, Mark B. Let's bring the crew in. Okay, y'all. Well, sad news out of Memphis. A young man, Tyre Nichols, was murdered by the police. He was pulled over for quote unquote reckless driving. And this stop led to him being beaten by several officers, where he later succumbed to the beating and died. News came out about his death. The five pictures were released, and much to the disappointment of many of us in the Black community, all 5 faces were Black men. So you had 5 Black men that we knew of at the time that were responsible for beating this young man to death. More news that came out about people who were involved afterwards. There were other officers involved, EMT that weren't involved but were complicit in some way. And this news has just rocked the Black community. Many people leaving their opinions about what had their opinions about what happened and the response to what happened to this young man, especially after the video of this beating was released. So we're going to talk about it as a crew. We'll talk about our thoughts about what happened when we saw that it was 5 Black men that did this to this young man, and whether or not, we watched the video that was released of what happened to him. So go ahead and start off with Lav. Lav, did you watch the video, and what were your thoughts when you saw the mugshot lineup of the officers that were involved?
No need to watch the video, wash, rinse, repeat, how it goes. So I didn't need to see another Black man being, another Black body just being abused at the hand of the state. So I didn't watch it. When I saw the lineup of the perpetrators, it did kind of shock me at first, but then once you hear about the special unit or whatever they were on, it kind of, you start thinking about all the TV shows you see, right? And then you see all these corrupt cops and how these cops on TV get away with stuff. And it's like, man, is it life imitating art or what? So bottom line is, it just goes back to something we've always said, is that police by nature in this country, policing by nature is a tool of white supremacy that's been used and will continue to be used against Black people specifically.
I was definitely shocked. I didn't watch the video either because, like you said, I can't watch another video of police brutality or even just, Black bodies being murdered and then displayed on the internet for whatever reason, whether it's to solicit funds or solicit outrage or to, incite people to action. I just don't think that that's the right way to do it, especially because, you still have families who are mourning and like really trying to process through this tragedy. And it's like all of these videos and stuff like that, it's just too insensitive. It's too much for me personally. But to find out that they were Black, I was so disappointed. I mean, I didn't necessarily think about the race of the officers when I first heard about it. I guess I just assumed that they were white, but like Lav said, when you hear about these special units, it always brings into question who's picking these units, how did they pick those people, you know what I mean? How did they get from the point where they're working as with the whole police department and then they're all singled out for whatever reason to work in this special unit together where they're basically going to put that unit over everything else, which you can tell by them being complicit in the fake police reports and accounts and whatever. So, and it always makes me wonder what else have they gotten away with? Because if this hadn't become national news, we wouldn't have even known, you know what I mean, about this unit. So what else that wasn't national news did these guys really get involved with? So, I mean, it's just unfortunate to me.
I didn't watch the video either. I have no intention on watching it. Like kind of like Erika said, I'm just kind of sick of like I feel like it's back in the day when they used to do those public hangings where they have everybody gather around and they'd be standing there and then they'd hang somebody to the tree and everybody standing there watching for hours, almost like some type of scare tactic. And I just don't need to see it again. I wasn't too surprised that they were Black. I mean, I kind of wondered if they were, with it being such a large group. I didn't know if they were going to be, Black or white. And then once I saw that they were 100% Black, the first thing I thought was maybe it was something personal, that I just didn't think it was just like a random thing. I know I've heard bits and pieces that it might be. So I haven't followed the story to know for sure if it was or not.
Yeah. I was disappointed to see that all the officers, or Lav said it best, perpetrators were Black. I wasn't shocked though. Y'all know me. I probably get a lot of flack for this, but I'm always team fuck the police, just because I feel as if the police have been used as a tool of the state to continue to oppress Black people in the way that they have policed our community. And I don't feel as if anything has been done to correct the misuse of force and the over-policing that happens to our community. I know that all of us have Black sons, 2 of us are Black men. Hell, we've even seen Black women being abused and mistreated by the police. So until something significant is done to change in the way that the relationship between the Black community and the police in this country is handled, that's going to be my take when it comes to policing in this country. It's a dilemma because we do have communities that do need proper policing, right? We need proper policing. We need police that are educated. We need police that are properly trained. And that's always something that you have to be careful with, because they always say, well, they need more training. They need more training. I saw when I was looking into something, they were talking about the police officers that were put onto this Scorpion unit, that they were all young officers, right? They hadn't really had time to be vetted and see what their temperament was. And part of their training was to do like 3 days of PowerPoint presentations and, an hour on the firing range or something crazy like that. And what happens is it's an old school trick where they say, oh, we need more training. And so let's give us more funding for training. And then what happens is they just spend that money on more tools that they use to oppress us more. So instead of actually seeing something happen, we start seeing, police with different types of weapons. Now you're starting to see the robot dogs that they got patrolling neighborhoods. We're starting to see that type of mess. And we know that that's going to be used primarily for us. I was extremely disappointed to see 5 Black men who we were shown at the beginning, 5 Black men to be the perpetrators. I was extremely disappointed to see the 3 EMT workers that were let go. 2 of them were Black as well, but I'm not shocked, because we always say not all skin folk are kinfolk. and this is obviously a similar situation. We've seen it before. I've seen situations where the police officers who are supposed to be better able to understand and relate to us in our community, they end up taking on the mindset of the oppressor. I've seen situations with the words that they use and the tone that they take. You know, we've seen it back in the day. Remember Boys in the Hood when they were pulled over and they were talking about, hey, I hate you, little N-words and all that. I've seen that in real life. I've seen it in real life. So I'm not disappointed. I hope we throw them under the bus. I actually feel like they are race traitors, and I feel that race traitors should be treated worse than our enemies because they have sold out our community, and that's just where I stand with it.
You know, you talk about the funding aspect, about needing more training, and then they pop up with these new weapons or new tactics. When you think about it, we think about these new military grade weapons they have and these quote unquote special forces units, almost like a elite SEAL team or Army Rangers. And really, when you think about it in that aspect, they are a military and they're going to war against their own citizens. And so when you think about that, and like you said, over policing, this never happens in other communities. Never. You never. They don't have elite. They don't have elite special forces units in suburbia.
And no, they're protected. They're protected. You know, so you get one or two Asian ladies in New York that were mugged or accosted, which is not right. This is not
right. Right.
We get bills and everything to protect them. They get money to abuse and brutalize us.
Yeah, to go to war against us, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think something really needs to be done. We need to address these special units. There's so many things that go on behind the blue wall, you know, the blue wall, the blue shield or whatever. But these units, they're not anything new. CNI from Topeka, Kansas, right? And I remember when crack first hit the community and drugs started becoming more and more prevalent. I mean, gangs started becoming more and more prevalent in our community. And there was a special task force then. I think it was called the SCAT unit. You remember that, C? It was, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's called the SCAT unit. And they, you know, they were notorious. They were notorious for brutalizing brothers in Topeka. Now, how they always get away with it, right, is they say, well, the Black community is asking for it. The Black community needs something to happen to, you know, put an end to the violence. So that's why I say it's a dilemma. How do we handle this? Do we start policing ourselves? Do we need to see more brothers on the forefront? There needs to be a more holistic way of approaching this, whether it's through education, funding, whatever, but it's not more policing, in my personal opinion. I've seen them trying to play that mind game where they say, okay, well, since the George Floyd murder and the response to this country to policing, we had a lot of senior police officers quit. So now you got these young police officers who don't have the training, and that's why they're wilding out like this. Bullshit. The older ones was killing us too. So
for decades before those younger ones were even born.
That's why they quit. They couldn't do it no more.
Right, that's what I was gonna say.
Right. And Lab, you talked about is it art imitating life? No. Would you say is it life imitating art? No, it's
right.
It's art imitating life. Because I remember there's this TV show called The Shield.
Yeah.
TV show.
It was a good show. It was a good show.
Good show, right? It's a good show. It was based off reality. It was based off the crash unit in Ramparts, California, right? It's in LA, the Ramparts division in LA. And they were terrorizing the neighborhoods there, terrorizing like a group of 70 cops. So this Scorpion unit, what they call them in Atlanta, the Red Dog unit, whatever. I bet you every single city has some sort of squad that is like, oh, y'all the ones that's gonna get these N-words. And they killed this young man, and like I said, they need to be thrown under the jail.
Yo. I know it's getting good. We're gonna get right back to it. But check it out. Imagine your advertisement right here. Just click the link in our bio and we'll hit you up.
Mhm.
I mean, we
That's
talked
why,
about it before. They just need to have their own liability insurance. The thing is, I mean, they got charges pressed against them, so they're not going to be able to. But for the most part, when it happens, all they do is just change precincts, change units, change cities, and then nothing ever happens. Nothing follows them. They don't have to pay anything. So it's just there's not enough. Like if they have to carry their own liability insurance, like most people in most positions where you know, might have somebody's lives in your hand, then I'm telling you, they'll do better. Right now, it's not. It's like, I'll just go somewhere else.
right, and then they scrapping these units like it's not about to pop back up with a new name and a new commander. We not impressed. And then of course, you know how I feel. Y'all know
Right.
I hate Memphis. So as soon as I saw where they was at, I was like, well, stay out of Memphis for real. I hate that
Yeah,
place.
yeah. You know, it's interesting too, because there is kind of a bit of a dilemma, like Marv said. So definitely you need Black police officers, right? But I don't know what it is. It's not just police, but it's certain jobs where you get in and if you're worried about your own advancement. So you do kind of take on that persona of what's going to get you through the system there. And sometimes it does include hurting your own people or doing things that you know that you shouldn't be doing. But you're worried about your own well-being and your own advancement. And like I said, it's not just policing. You know, if we're honest, there's a lot of different aspects in life where people, you know, it take go along to get along. So it really stands out with the police because they're the ones who are killing people, you know, like ending their life immediately. But there's other aspects where we go along to get along.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to the apathy that allows us to go along. And we talk about, oh, well, the Black community is begging for this. Like when we talk about Crime Bill Joe, right? And the crime bill that, you know, he helped usher in. And their primary response when we talk about how this led to mass incarceration and, you know, the warehousing of Black bodies in the prison system. The first thing they'll say is, well, the Black community was begging for it. The Black community was begging for us to put a stop to the crime. Okay, why don't you do it? Why don't you try it another way? Why don't you try about educating, putting jobs in the community, investing money that way? That's what we need, right? And I really wish that a lot of these gatekeeper Negroes, these, you know, whatever you want to call them, that are in these positions to speak out for what the community needs, would approach it in that way. We often give, I often give President Barack Obama a hard time about, you know, some of the stuff that he didn't do. And in my belief that he didn't go far enough for the Black community, but I have to give him his props. His Attorney General, Eric Holder, they had those consent decrees where they were investigating all of the different police stations across the country that were known for brutalizing Black Americans. Cleveland, I can't remember what other police departments they were looking into, but I know Cleveland was one of them, a couple of others.
Was St. Louis one?
St. Louis might have been one. I know Cleveland for sure. I just know Cleveland for sure. But they were getting in depth into what is going on, the dysfunction, and how these police departments, these police unions, how they are really, really terrorizing the Black community. And so to C's point, when you talk about, yeah, they're just gonna get fired, they're gonna go somewhere else. We found out about that, right? Because he was like, okay, well, this officer brutalized somebody here. Well, he has a track record of being a sheriff over here, and he was doing it over here. So they're just moving around. That stuff was coming out during those consent decree searches. So if we can find a way, since Joe was really begging for our votes, right? Bring that back. Have Milquetoast Merrick Garland, instead of looking for those confidential documents in Joe's crib and Trump's crib or whatever, let's go ahead and just start looking into what's going on with these police departments, right? So we can try to put something in place to correct how they are treating African Americans, Black Americans, ADOS.
Yeah. I think that people who look for those positions of power and stuff like that are easily corrupted by it too, right? We always know, yeah.
How many police officers, you know, they got like a God complex, right? You say so they feel like they untouchable, man.
Right. All big and tough and angry for no reason. I mean, obviously, you know what I mean, there are good and bad everything in this world, but right now we're addressing the bad. And when you have people who come to that profession looking for that, but you don't have a system of checks and balances to make sure that people are passing not just the academic or intellectual side of things, but also the mental wellness side of things. Because a lot of police officers have issues with domestic violence and stuff. That violence, that temperament is not just being carried out in the home, it's coming into the streets as well. And so the second you have an incident that, you know what I mean, especially if there's any type of incident that involves violence, I feel like that officer needs to undergo some type of evaluation and like a whole different type of process of you got to go through this whole program and whatnot in order to continue doing this job. And we got to stop paying them while they're doing it. The police union is way too powerful. Like, they've negotiated some great deals for people to literally commit heinous crimes and then sit around on paid admin leave while we all figure out how heinous it was. But so we need to really start renegotiating how these situations are handled and how these people are disciplined and retrained prior to being reintroduced to the public when they have these incidents, and not just in one department, in any department. That track record has to follow them. It has to follow them to every place. And if you are a locale that is consistently hiring problematic police officers, then you should lose your funding, because that's just irresponsible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you talk about the mental wellness aspect. You talk about the intellectual aspect as far as training. Man, what happened to integrity though? Like, so you look to the cops, you know, as you know, supposedly when you're a kid, they teach you all this stuff. The cops are the honest, the good guys. How many times are these narratives that they write up on the report going to be 1,000% different than the body cam footage? And guess what? Those people never get fired for that. They never get fired for writing false narratives. Never.
Once you know the body cams don't make a difference.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my point. So and on the official record in the police office, it still says that he started fighting with them as soon as he got out the car. And they saying they pulled him out the car. You know, I mean, stuff like that. And it's on the official record that he's the one that initiated the fight.
Well, that's why I don't like those. They kind of stopped doing it because Black people started seeing through it. Remember, it was that one white police officer who was always double dutching with the kids and dancing and, you know, doing the nay and all that mess, and then
shooting basketball with them,
shooting basketball and all that mess. We're seeing through that, right? What you're doing is you're desensitizing our children to what really is a threat. What really is who's supposed to be there to protect and serve, right? But once you change, especially if you were a young Black boy, once you change from being a non-threat to someone who is a threat, you still having that mind frame that you have somebody in your ear to tell you, nah, don't trust them like that, right? You know, because I had to have somebody hit me to the game, right? But unless you have somebody in your mind, in your ear to teach you the right way, you could get caught up trusting the police in the wrong way, you know, because it came out with that cop that was sitting there. What was he sitting there double dutching with the kids and all that stuff? Then they showed a video of him when he was, you know, with his homeboys and he was brutalizing somebody, right? And they was like, this is the dude that y'all supposed to be having y'all babies dance with or whatever. You know, I remember when I was a kid, lab, you know, growing up, see, you might remember too. They was like, stop the police. They got Kansas City Chiefs.
Football cards.
Football cards.
It was the baseball cards. What? It was a football or baseball?
They had both. They had both.
I remember the baseball cards.
Yeah. Like, oh, stop, Mr. Officer. Can you give me some football cards? I did that dumb mess.
I did it too.
Got me a Deron Cherry. Got
my Deron Cherry
football card.
Carson. Yeah.
So you know, and that's the game they play. So you know, we're not doing that. But
what's good, everybody? To listen to any of our past shows, go to www.manlistenshow.com. And if you want to add right here in the show, you can do the same thing. Listen. Did you guys see that video of that one police officer? I want to say it was in Wyandotte, where he was just like, he was sitting in the hallway and I don't know what he was on, but he was on something that was like, He couldn't even function. And they was just sitting there, and supposedly he got suspended, but then they said he was back patrolling like 48 hours later.
Probably. I mean, look, a lot of people are talking about this is the face of white supremacy, and they're so shocked when they saw those 5 officers. I remember one time when I was in Houston, there was these young brothers who were concert promoters, and a fight broke out. They had a party at this venue that was outside of where this police officer who was hired to do security, where he felt they shouldn't be at. He was like, so the fight broke out. And when the fight broke out, somebody stole the cash box. So somebody was recording, and the promoter was angry. He was like, how did y'all let this happen? Who stole it? Like, what is going on? The first thing that happened when the fight broke out, y'all supposed to grab the cash box and get out of Dodge. And the police officer stopped them and was like, dude, don't nobody care about your money? That girl got hurt. You think we care about your money? You shouldn't even be out here anyway, you effing N-words. And he said this knowing that he was being videotaped. So when we talk about, are you shocked when you see the 5 black faces? No, I wasn't, but I was surprised. I shouldn't even say surprised when they showed that there was a white perpetrator that was involved as well. But his face wasn't shown initially. Shout out to Talcum X for bringing it to light. What y'all think about that? Those don't know. Talcum X is Sean King. My bad.
Yeah, you can't just slip that in there like that and then just roll with it.
Martin Luther King.
I'm confused. You stupid.
Martin Luther King. Hey, people get it's fun to make fun of Sean King. And yeah, he be begging for money and he be funny style with the money, whatever. But I'm telling you, y'all know me. Take what works for you and throw away the rest. He be on the police behind though, especially.
He do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they's quick to highlight these 5 black MFs. All right, I'm trying not to cuss on the show no more. But they showed this white boy. What y'all think about that?
Man, sounds about right.
I didn't even know about it. So what? So here is he charged as well?
Mm-hmm.
No, he has not been charged.
He didn't get fired either. He didn't get fired either.
So was he there?
No, he got.
I thought they came back and did it later.
Suspended. I could be wrong, but I know he hasn't been fired. He's been suspended.
Yeah. Did he? So did he do the exact same thing though? I mean, like, so I haven't watched the video. He was hitting him as well. He tased him. Oh, he tased him. So this was first or after?
I don't know. I didn't watch the video, but I know from details that I read, he was involved, and he tased that young man.
Yeah, I'm assuming it was before because they said he tased him, and on the body camera footage, they said you could hear him say, "I hope they beat his blank," beat his A, or something like that. Yeah.
I mean, but I think showing just the black faces fed into a different kind of narrative that they thought would be a good idea to push, because they were like, oh, well, this isn't about race. This is y'all's community needing to be policed or whatever. Thing goes back to what Marv said. And so it kind of just contributes to the narrative that they would like to push, that, you know what I mean, that it's not about race, when we all know it is about race, no matter what the faces look like.
And it's a hustle too, because I saw people like, well, where's Black Lives Matter? Where's Black Lives Matter? It was like, no, they already been arrested. So like, what are we
gonna do?
And I didn't necessarily see the blue backing them officers that was arrested either, since they want to call people out.
Right. Well, yeah, they black. And then in the report I read, it was like, the prosecutor said we acted swiftly. You don't act swiftly when they white.
at all.
And they never do.
Never do. And another thing, it's like somebody pointed this out, like, man, they was reaching for ratings or something. They like, we're gonna release it on Friday, prime time at 7 p.m.
6 o'clock or 7.
It's like, come on, man.
Yeah,
that never happens either. They usually release it under late at night, where don't nobody really know, but they
months later,
a day in advance, a month later, a day. Hey, come back on Friday at 7. We're gonna release it. We got some good stuff for you. I mean, it's entertainment to them. That's what it is. That video is entertainment to a lot of folks.
It's trauma.
Right.
But so what y'all think is gonna happen with this?
Oh, like they going to jail for sure. Like I said, they going under the jail. But
It's gonna be rough for him in there too.
Good.
Cops.
Yeah. Hey, you make your bed.
Yep.
Right.
And this ain't the first bed they've made, so
Literally.
welcome to the
Literally.
party.
Yeah. Don't drop the soap.
Thing about it is, their parents will still be able to come visit them. Their children that they have will still be able to visit them, write them letters, talk to them over the phone. But Tyre Nichols will never talk to his mama again. And, that just broke my heart, you know what I mean, to hear that he was crying for his mama while they was doing this to this young black man. And I definitely hope that everything bad happens to those dudes. And when I say everything, I mean everything. And I hope that justice is served swiftly. I hope it's served to all the people that were involved. The white dude that was involved, the white EMT responder, the black EMT responders. I hope all of them, a lesson is made of them. Because like I said, it does hurt more when it's one of us who perpetrates this type of heinous crime towards us. And we talked about, putting these type of things out on the internet, on TV, and how it affects our psyche. Honestly, I'm tired of seeing black violence, period. I don't want to see this. I'm tired of seeing black dysfunction like this Krishan and Blueface dude that they just show all over the internet. You got these, these two, this dysfunctional relationship. You got the Zeus Network, who's got these young black girls every other day. When you look on Instagram, they fighting each other, pulling each other's hair. It's just ridiculous, and if it's not that, they're showing black men, gay black men fighting one another. And if we're not seeing that, we got these rappers, being killed daily. I'm tired of seeing black death, black violence, especially since Zimmerman is still walking around here.
Man. Wow. Yeah.
Since Zimmerman's still walking around here. So I just don't need to see it anymore. Rest in peace, rest in power, Tyre Nichols. God bless his mother, God bless his friends and his family. And I hope that you get justice soon. So we're going to end it on that note. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at manlistenshow. Subscribe to the show, leave a comment, let us know what you think. We'll watch you next time. Peace.
Peace.